learning how to work with ratios that have three quantities. So the first thing that we're going to be learning about is simplifying. And we've simplified ratios before with two numbers, but now we're going to simplify ratios with three numbers. So the most important thing to try to do is to try to find the greatest common factor between 16, 12, and 18. Now you can look at all these numbers and realize that they're all even, so you know you could divide by 2 because we're dividing to get the simplest form. When we go to here and then down to here. So we could divide by 2, but it's not the greatest common factor. So to find the greatest common factor, I like to start with the lowest number, which is 12. And think of all the factors of 12 starting with the highest. So I know I could do 12 times 1. Do any of these numbers have a factor of 12? No. I could do 6 times 2. Do any of these have a factor of 6? Well, yeah, 6 times 3 is 18. And no, 16 does not have a factor of 6. Let's move on to the next one. 4 times 3. 4 goes into 12. 4 goes into 16. Does 4 go into 18? No. How about the number 3? 3 goes into 12. 3 goes into... No, it doesn't go into 16. So now I'm going to do another one. 2 times 1. Or 2 times 6. In this case, 2 is actually my greatest common factor. So 16 divided by 2 is 8. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And 18 divided by 2 is 9. And this is my final answer. If I have another kind of problem that has numbers like this, 24 colon 12 colon 36. I could look at these numbers again and say they're all even, and maybe it'll work out like last time. And that would be great. Let's see, so I could divide by 2, but let's try the other way. Let's take my biggest number, or excuse me, my smallest number, and look for the greatest common factor. So I'm going to start with 12 and do 12 times 1. I know 12 goes into this one. Does 12 go into 24? Yes. Does 12 go into 36? Yes. So I'm going to divide all 3 by 12. This is going to be awesome. So 12 divided by 12 is 1. 24 divided by 12 is 2. And 36 divided by 12 is 3. Awesome. So you have to make sure that to simplify ratios with 3 numbers, you have to make sure that you find a factor that goes into all 3 and make sure it goes down to its simplest form. The easiest way to do that is to find the greatest common factor. Nice job. The second thing we're going to be learning about today is finding the missing number. Now, in order to do this, we have a ratio 5 to 7 to 12 equals blank to 28 to blank. So the first thing we absolutely have to do is take this unknown and write it right underneath what we do know. You have to make sure you line up those colons. If you don't line up the colons, it's going to get really messed up. So we lined them up, which is great. And we have to ask ourselves the question, what did we do to the 7 to turn it into 28? And the answer is multiply by 4. So whatever I did here, I have to do to the other quantities. 5 times 4 is 20. 12 times 4 is 48. Those are my missing numbers, and I'm done. Good luck on the homework, and I'll see you back in school.